We will open this City of Pittsburgh Commission meeting on Tuesday, August 12th, 2025, at the present time. Let's all stand and give the flag salute, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll have the invocation by Pastor Deborah Carroll.
Thank you. Will you pray with me? Gracious and loving God, we gather in your presence, seeking guidance as we serve the city of Pittsburgh. May your spirit of peace and wisdom rest upon all gathered here. Inspire these commissioners and leaders with compassion, understanding, and courage. Help us listen deeply to one another and to the needs of this community, honoring both diversity and unity as we work together for the common good. May we be mindful of the sacred worth of each person in our city. Let our decisions reflect your justice, mercy, and boundless love. Strengthen us to be builders of community, open to new possibilities, respectful in our disagreements, and committed to the well-being of all. In gratitude for this opportunity to serve, we ask for your blessing on tonight's work and all who call Pittsburgh home. May your peace abide with us, and now always. We offer this prayer in your holy name, Christ Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Pastor. Mayor McNay is out of town this weekend. She is with us by phone, however. We'll open for public input. Now, let me explain. This is public input, not the public hearing. So this limit to 3 minutes. If you would, state your name and your address in Pittsburgh, please. Any public input?
My name is John Juarez Garcia. Address is 313 East 15th Street in Pittsburgh, Kansas. Today I'm coming to talk to you. I am a soccer coach here at the middle school and high school levels. And so I want to talk to you today about the public need for public access to soccer fields in our area. Currently, right now, we only have 2 soccer field options, one at the high school, which prioritizes high school athletes, and one at the college, which prioritizes college athletes. And so many players are faced with finding alternative areas to play, such as utilizing any parks that they can find, church grounds, and even sometimes basketball courts. In Pittsburgh, various sports such as basketball, disc golf, baseball have areas that are designated for them. Soccer in our city is rapidly growing from the emergence of multiple youth clubs all the way to adult clubs competing in various tournaments around the surrounding areas. The one thing they do lack is adequate fielding within our area. To foster the continued development of soccer in our city, we strongly advocate for the establishment of public access to soccer fields. Thank you for considering this request.
Thank you, sir. Christy, did you have something? I saw you headed in this way.
Hi, Christy Bittner, 1508 Bittner Court. Good evening, Commissioners and City Manager Hall. I believe it was a wonderful idea for the Crawford County Commissioners to obtain from citizens in a survey on what's a priority for needs who live in the county. The results were that early childhood care, especially for 0 to 30 months, was important for families and their young children that would allow parents to look for employment. The county made the decision to invest ARPA funds for small daycare centers and create more large daycare centers. 4 large daycare providers were formed, such as Family Resource Center South, Sunshine Daycare and Autism Center, Sugar Creek Daycare, which just had a groundbreaking last week, and Washington School Daycare to be opened sometime in the fall. The anticipated enrollment numbers provided to the county is expected to add slots for 605 children. That is good news. On the agenda tonight is an item for an extension for Washington School Daycare Center. It's understandable for there to be delays in construction of facilities. The CDBG grant for a new addition on the north side of the renovated Washington School was awarded in August 2023. Along with the local contribution of $966,016 and the grant of $750,000, the estimated project cost was to be $1,716,016. It was to be completed by July 31st, 2025. According to Morning Sun articles on the Grow at Eden Pittsburgh website, it was announced the center would open August 4th. It was announced the next timeline was then going to be late September or October, and now is stated for November 30th, 2025, according to the letter on page 98 of tonight's agenda. The estimated project renovation cost, according to documents presented in June 2023, was for cost to the renovation to be $5.7 million, which included EDAC funding. So with the city's help, Point Forward was able to secure a $6 million industrial revenue bond for the purpose to purchase, acquire, construct, furnish, and equip the renovation of Washington School into a child care facility. As many investments have been made toward the reality of this daycare, has Point Forward been able to achieve all included in the IRB, the personal donations and grants given for completion of Washington School and deliver care for families? Has Washington School Daycare Center received a KDHE license? Is Grow at Eden considered the licensed provider for the center? Has a licensed program director been chosen? Do we know what ages will be enrolled and the costs for those services? These are questions that need to be resolved before Washington School can open. And since Sunday, November 30th, 2025, is the new completion date, can families look forward to the doors opening at Washington School Daycare in December 2025? I believe all want each of these daycare centers to be successful in future years to come and assist families in their daily lives. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Any other public input? With output? Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. There's nothing to be removed from the consent agenda, so we'll vote on it at the present time.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to vote on the consent agenda.
Brooks,
Yes.
Height,
Yes.
McNeil,
yes,
Mensa,
Yes.
Sigley.
Yes. Moving on to the public hearing at the present time. The City of Pittsburgh advertised for a public hearing to be held on Tuesday, August 12th, 2025 at 5:30 p.m. to receive public comment on the approval of substantial changes to the existing rural housing incentive district to extend the time frame for such district, providing for a substantial change to the district plan and making certain findings in conjunction therewith. Silverback Landing, Phase 1, Reinvestment Housing Incentive District. Yes, sir.
Good evening, President and Commissioners. Garth Herman with Gilmore and Bell, the city's bond counsel. Appreciate you having me here tonight. I thought it might be helpful to kind of go over the process and answer any questions, for me that you may have before we actually open up the public hearing and consider the ordinance at the conclusion thereof. As you mentioned, these action items relate to the Silverback Landing Reinvestment Housing Incentive District. When it was originally created back in 2018, as you know, the time limit for RHIDs then were limited to 15 years, not more than that amount of time. The RHID Act was changed a few years ago to provide for those districts to actually have a longer time period. They can go up to 25 years now. At the request of the proposed new developer of this property, they approached the city to ask about being able to extend the time frame for this district to include that additional 10 years in order to help, with the revenue and the repayment of the improvements that are made in that district. In order to do that, back in July, City Commission passed a resolution that provided for a public hearing on what would be considered a substantial change to the existing district. Substantial changes are allowed to be made under the RHID law, assuming that you follow certain procedures. And so the city passed the resolution to follow those procedures, namely to set the date for a new public hearing and to provide the required notices of that public hearing to the community at large. After that resolution was adopted, A copy of that resolution was sent to the Board of County Commissioners of Crawford County, the Board of Education of USD 250, and the City Planning Commission. In addition, public notice was given in the newspaper by the publication of that resolution to alert everybody of the public hearing that was scheduled for tonight. So with that being said, the next steps would be to hold the public hearing, open up the public hearing, and accept comments from the public related to this substantial change for the addition of the 10 years. At the conclusion of the public hearing, it's anticipated that the City Commission would consider the adoption of the ordinance number S-1111, which will approve that substantial change to the district. The plan is for that ordinance, if it is passed, the effectiveness of it will be delayed until the assignment document between the old developer and the proposed successor developer is agreed and signed to. They asked that we go ahead and take these steps as a show of good faith so that the developers, can rely on the action of the city that the extra 10 years will be added to the project. That will give them what they need then in order to finalize their documents related to the transfer of ownership of the properties to the new developer, as well as the assignment and transfer of the rights under the development agreement from the old developer to the new developer as well. So that's the reason for the delayed effectiveness of the ordinance. That's part of the plan, and having these actions tonight goes along with that plan. So with that being said, I'll pause if you have any questions for me or for city staff, and if not, then I would request that you open up the public hearing.
Any questions? When do you anticipate the final signing?
That document and those negotiations, so those are ongoing right now. It is anticipated, and Darren may have the exact date, it's anticipated that that closing between the developers will occur towards the end of September.
And then after that's signed, is there a waiting period, once it's published in the paper, like 30 days before?
So the 30-day period, the nullification period, that 30 days starts from the date of the public hearing. So public hearings today, so that 30-day period would start from today.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We'll open the public hearing and ask anyone to come forward, state your name, your address, please. Keep your comments to three minutes if you would, please.
My name is Keith Closter. I live at 1509 Bittner Place. We all know this started about 7 years ago, and I remember sitting up here and asking about P&L and the developer, what's going to happen in 7 or 8 years when he tries to sell out to another company, another developer, and I was told, oh no, that can't happen, it's not transferable, which I understand it's a contract, and everybody has to agree to this, which I believe isn't just you guys. It's USD 250 and the county. So the vote tonight is just preliminary, I mean, just for right now, but it will have to go to the USD 250 and they'll have to approve it too, I believe. So, because they get part of the tax money off of it. But anyway, the other concern I have is the new developer that is being looked at. Will there be the same contract that P&L had with the city, such as the streets that go in? The streets that P&L had to put in was asphalt, and the city said that they wanted concrete. And so the city paid the difference to have concrete streets put in, which I think was around $300,000. The reason why was they said that the RFID is good for 15 years and asphalt only lasts for about 7 years. And they would have to have tax money to help pay for those to keep them up, to keep the streets updated. The concrete would last 20 years. Okay, so what happens in 25 years or 22 years when the phase 1 streets start failing? Where's the money going to come from that? Because all the tax money is being used right now will go to the developers with it. But I just want to make sure Mark, or Chuck, I think you were the only one who was on the board at the time, and the other lady who's not here tonight. And I know you voted no against it, but I just really hope you guys are doing your due diligence with this new developer. And I don't know who it is, and it might be a great thing, I don't know. But I know 7 years ago, it was not done. Because I talked to the city manager where P&L is up in Kansas City, and they have the same issues that we have with them right now. So I know it wasn't done 7 years ago. I really appreciate it if you guys have done that. I really hope you have. So, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening. My name's Jamie Lynn Bloom. I'm a resident at Silverback at 1901 Carney Smith Court, and I'm here to express my support for extending the terms of the RID. Our neighborhood has faced ongoing challenges under the current developer, P&L Development, owned by Mickey Vena. He has not been honest or transparent with residents, has refused to communicate regarding our home warranties, has allowed the unpurchased lots to become overgrown and less than minimally maintained, and has left multiple piles of debris throughout the neighborhood that remains unaddressed. There are also serious concerns about the infrastructure oversight. Several of the sewers have ladders placed on the wrong side. When you open the manhole, the ladder isn't accessible, and some sewer openings are large enough to pose a danger to small children. In addition, poor planning and oversight regarding utilities has impacted residents. While I understand utility placement is not solely determined by the developer, P&L could have exerted more influence to ensure practical, safe placement. Instead, we have a yard where a manhole protrudes several inches from the ground in the middle of it, and another home with two different gas-related pipes sticking out of the ground, both in fenced yards, which makes it hard to believe that the layout was dictated solely by the utility company. The proposed transfer of the remaining development gives me hope for meaningful progress. Point Forward appears to have both the capacity and the commitment to complete what has been left unfinished. If the RID is not extended and the remaining work must be rushed, I worry that the same substandard quality will persist. Extending the RID would give the new developer the time and resources needed to address these concerns and help Silverback Landing reach its full potential. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any others for the public hearing? Okay. You have any comments from the commission? Oh, I'm sorry.
Hello again. I understand the needs for houses in a city for its
Could you get a
citizens.
little closer to the mic, please?
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, I understand the need for houses in a city for its citizens. The concern is about the process and how that is accomplished. I think everybody's all for making things happen and be successful in the housing area. We have watched Silverback Landing being built since 2018. Many concerns and violations have been brought to city staff to no avail usually. This substantial change is one more time we've had to bring to the attention of the commissioners of the incomplete and questionable details in the plan. In the 2025 document that is before the governing body tonight, it is not the complete documents that you should have prior to making a decision. On page 2, the plan from the original ordinance with 7 points is missing from the 2025 ordinance. The amended and restated development plan in 2025 is missing the actual listing between the parties involved, recitals, and development agreement with Articles 1 through 6 missing. There's no signature page for the parties, no schedule page of exhibits. They are labeled differently in 2025. There's no eligible cost for reimbursement, no certification substantial completion form or request for reimbursement that requires signatures and dates, no invoice reimbursement schedule page for expenses and signature, and no funding agreement section between the parties that requires signatures and also to be notarized. Was there no requirement to notify by letter and post a sign about the public hearing to owners within Silverback or those within 200 feet of the property? I believe it should have been, out of respect for all those who are being affected by this. Please explain how the feasibility study was developed. The former feasibility study was put together differently and wasn't completed as approved in 2018. There is a certificate testifying that this 2025 document is a true and correct copy of the original ordinance that the city clerk must sign. Can that be signed in good faith? How can this ordinance be passed by this governing body tonight? Documents are necessary for the record and for future recollection of the facts. Due to lack of accuracy in the documents, this ordinance should be tabled and brought back at a later date. Thank you.
Any comments from the board?
Yeah, I have a few.
Yeah.
Hey, Dr. Sigley,
Yes, ma'am.
could we also have Garth, respond to the concerns brought by Kristen at some point after?
Yes, we will.
Thank you.
So I have a few things, but maybe Matt, if you could come forward and maybe answer some of the questions that I might have. I mean, Matt Burton.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm 100% in favor of what's gonna happen, hopefully, because we entered into a contract with P&L Development. The taxpayers paid $1.5 million for the road from Centennial to the development. Phase one of P&L Development, but they're going to build 60 single-family residence homes. That didn't happen.
That's
He broke
correct.
the contract. He didn't do what he said he was going to do. Another thing he said he was going to do was construct all the infrastructure improvements within the district, including water, sanitary sewer, stormwater, streets, curbs, gutters, sidewalks, and other utilities, but not limited to the electric fiber. And like you said, Keith, when that came up for us, the city wanted concrete over asphalt. And when that came up, I voted against it because we just gave him $1.5 million for that street to connect the development from the taxpayers' money. Another thing that irritates me is that concrete costs $120,000 more than the asphalt. And we took that money out of street sales tax. Now, that's taxpayers' money, and that money is designated for streets. I guess you could use it for the concrete in that street. But we took that money away from our street sales tax and give it to Mickey. We didn't have, we have $120,000 short that could have been used for other streets in the city that the taxpayers paid for. We accumulated $138,000 in property tax from the houses that were built there. My concern is that $120,000 we give him for the concrete, and he broke the contract that he had with us. I mean, we're the ones that voted for it, and we got the citizens out there complaining about things that weren't done. He's not answering the calls. There's issues out there, and I know you guys, hopefully, you're not gonna tell us the same thing he did. I think he told us a bunch of stuff, and we bought it, and unfortunately, he didn't withhold what he said he's gonna do. But like I said, I have a concern of the $138,000 we have holding now. I would like to see that $120,000 taken from that $138,000 and put back in our public, in our street sales tax. So that's my concern. Hopefully, maybe other commissioners might also want to do that. Another thing I asked Matt, which I can't remember the lady's name, but she spoke well when she came up here. And who will be the contact person when the people that live there now have some concerns? They have warranties on their homes that Mickey didn't address. So will you be the contact person if this goes through? Will those warranty issues be addressed? So, I mean,
No, those are all appropriate questions. To start with the first one, I'd tell you that I totally understand the frustration. At the same time, I think what you've heard from some of the residents and what we certainly believe is despite that, the potential is there, and we want to do our best to realize that in a quality way. That money that is there, that is a part of the RID now, it's a part of what's required to make this transaction happen. I can tell you that we'll spend at least that much making some improvements and things that were done, that should have been done that weren't done, putting up monument sign and landscaping, and so you can feel like that money is being invested back into the development. In terms of issues, they kind of fall into a couple buckets. So in terms of the land that Point Forward is acquiring, the site overall, that sort of falls between Point Forward managing and then the HOA, just depending on the nature of what the item is. The warranty issues that residents now have with homes, and we've met with the HOA and will continue to work with them, are technically legal matters between that resident and P&L Development, and that doesn't change after the transfer. Now, what we will do is do our best over the next 60 days as we work to that closing to try and help them resolve those things with Mickey, with the motivation that his willingness to help will allow us to get to closing. So, but generally speaking, for the project, I would be the contact.
So getting back on that 120,000 for concrete, he had, in the RHID, he could have done that and be reimbursed when he turned in the invoices. We didn't have to give him money out of our.
Yeah, I can't speak to that. I mean, I
But that
wasn't.
money won't come back to us, you're telling me?
I don't believe it will, but I would want Darren.
Yeah, the way that deal went down, the city commission, I think there was another project at the same time in a development that went from asphalt to concrete. So in terms to, I'm trying to get the gentleman's name, Mr. Klossner. So the decision was made, it was put to a vote, it was 4-1 to take an extra $120,000. Half of it was from the street sales tax, half of it was from the Economic Development Fund. That money was paid directly to Emery Sapp. That money was removed from any of the RID repayment that will happen as a result of this project. So Mickey actually doesn't have any of that money. So to swap that money, the city made that decision, and we paid for it on our own, and we paid it, I talked to you earlier today, and I went and checked the numbers.
Right.
We actually paid it directly to Emery Sapp, so it didn't go to Mickey. And then I made sure that Kim, in all of our reimbursables, because right now, I think there's $2 or $3 million worth of reimbursable costs for the developer, it's removed from there. So it isn't in Mickey's hands, it's not part of this deal, it's literally a number that we put to bring concrete instead of pavement to Emery Sapp. So tying it to the 138, I don't know if that's a relationship that exists. It's not in Mickey's hands, nor actually, and I do understand the 138 is going to be part of the, eventually somebody's going to get paid that money, but that money is tied, I think Garth can correct me, to whoever the developer is for the RID. It's not the city's money, and that's the way the RID's structured.
And you're talking about the money that's been collected already,
Yeah, I think Commissioner Munsell was talking about the 120 for the concrete versus the 138 that's been collected from property tax already, that is to be distributed to a developer at some point that we've held back from Mickey up till now, because the phase one is not complete.
So going forward in the future, not only this RHID, but if there's other ends out there, I think we need to look at that if there was an issue with concrete over asphalt. That could have been done, paid back to him through the RHID, correct? If he turned.
Yeah, I mean, if the developer's willing to, our street standard is asphalt, so we can't just make somebody put in concrete. So unless he chooses to put in concrete, which he wasn't willing to do, we were gonna have to put in concrete if we wanted it at our own expense, and that's where the 120,000 came in.
So you're saying if he wanted the RHID and we wanted concrete, we couldn't make him put in concrete?
And
That's
don't we
what I'm
prefer
saying.
concrete?
If we could have convinced him to put in concrete, then he could have put it in on the front end at his cost
Right,
and
that's
been
what I'm
paid
saying.
back over the time,
Yeah.
but that wasn't on the table. The only deal on the table was,
Don has a
oh, sorry,
question.
Don.
Don't we prefer concrete, and are these not city streets now?
Yeah, we did prefer, at the time, that was a discussion, is concrete over asphalt, and yes, those are city streets.
And if I could just say one thing, I know we keep talking about P&L and Mickey, but I think we need to keep in mind, we have Pittsburgh residents living there. So, we need to recognize that we need to be doing this for the residents that are living there and not for Mickey or because of Mickey.
Well, I think we all realize that, Don, because of Mickey's lack of taking care of the residents, it's where we're at now. And I hope Matt and this group are better developers and somebody that the residents can call and have questions, because Mickey seems to be, take the money and run, it sounds like to me, but That's where I'm at on it.
Well,
And one-
I'm sorry, go ahead, Tom.
I just have one final thing. If we could clarify that what the county and USD 250 need to either approve or not contest is extending the RID. They have no role in the sale of the property.
Hi, Don. This is Garth. Yeah, that's correct. So the role that Crawford County Board of County Commissioners and the Board of Education, USD 250, the role that they have in this is during the 30-day period starting, today, from the date of the public hearing. During that 30-day period, they have the opportunity to adopt a resolution by majority vote that would nullify this substantial change to the existing RHID. So if the county adopted a resolution to nullify this within the next 30 days, or if the Board of Education took similar action, then that would simply mean that this 10-year extension substantial change would not go through, but the existing RHID would still remain in effect for the remainder of its 15 years. And that neither the county nor the school district have, legally have a action required related to the assignment of the development agreement, between developers.
So, one more question. So if that sale didn't go through, I think you just said it would remain in P&L Developments. They would be the 15 years, what is it, 7 years from now?
Yeah,
I
you're correct,
believe,
yeah.
I believe that, I think it's 2033 is when the 15 years would.
If regardless of what action we take today, if the sale doesn't go through, then the extension does not go into effect.
So my point is, his part of 60 homes doesn't seem to me now that he'd have them built in the next 7 years. So any money that we collect from property tax, we keep.
Well, yeah, well, unless he finishes phase one.
Yeah, well, if he does, if it happens, yeah.
I don't want to speculate, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. All right, that's all I got.
My question, Matt, sorry you're in the middle of the frustration. I was on the other side of the podium back in 2018, and we did not feel like Dawn just said. We did not feel like the city commission at the time cared about the people living in East Hills. And we were frustrated, and it was not apples to apples. They were so worried about entertaining a developer to come in here and be like the golden child that was going to save housing for Pittsburgh. And back to Christy Bittner's comments about the paperwork, these missing documents or whatever. I'd really like to know that that is in place, Garth, please. And the frustrations that the people in the development now are feeling are no different than the ones that were on the outer edge of it before. We all had the same concerns, and we were not heard. Where these people, now that they're speaking up, they're validating what we were talking about. And I'm all for a new developer as long as they do what they say and they follow the same rules as everyone in the city of Pittsburgh has to follow. But whenever you don't follow it and things are let slide, I just don't think that's right. And it causes a lot of frustration. It could have been avoided, and I'd sure like to see that part taken care of.
Yep.
And, but anyway, I feel bad for you, Matt, that you're in the middle. Just wanted to say that.
Yeah, so if I could address a couple of the questions that came up. So regarding the notices, so the notices for this public hearing were given in accordance with the law as it applies to the RHIDs. Back in 2018, I believe that there were additional notices given. That was not necessarily related to the RHID itself. I believe that related to the plating process and the different procedures that the city has in place for plats, which are absent from what this action is. So I think that may be part of the discrepancy in the notices that were provided back in 2018 versus the required notices that were provided this time. With regards to some of the documents that she mentioned, I believe most, if not all of those, relate to the development agreement itself, the payment requests and the disbursement forms and the eligible costs and those types of things. Those are all exhibits to the development agreement. The development agreement was not included as part of the amended and restated documents because there are no changes to it at this point. That is the document that will be assigned and transferred from P&L Development to Silverback Landing LLC as the new developer. And that is the document, once that is assigned, that will be the trigger for the publication and effectiveness of this ordinance. So since there were no changes being made to that document, that's why it was not part of the packet, related to the public hearing tonight, since it is not being changed.
The only thing we're talking about is whether or not the public hearing is to whether or not to extend the RID and to allow the name change. The documents are all already encompassed and recorded at the Register of Deeds and all that, I'm sure, right? The plat and all that. So that, we're not changing anything with that.
Correct.
Okay.
Any other comments, questions? Okay. The chair will entertain a motion or not.
Move to approve ordinance S 1111.
Then move to approve ordinance number 1111 and the amended and restated development plan.
I second it.
It's been moved and seconded, all in favor by saying aye.
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 Others by the same sign.
No,
Nay?
nay.
Nay. Okay, moving on. Consider use,
That was cut. It passed. It passed with majority.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I'm sorry, it did.
4 to
4 to 1, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Consider the following, conditional use permit denial, PROS. Consider the recommendation of the Planning Commission Board of Zoning Appeals to deny the request submitted by Christopher Pross for a conditional
Mayor?
use permit
Not
for a
Mayor.
contractor shop to be
President?
located.
We got one.
need to close the public hearing, please.
We never
Oh,
closed
okay,
it.
I'm sorry, yeah. Okay, we'll close the public hearing.
Thanks, Garth.
Continuing on, for a contractor shop to be located within the secondary structure at 615 East 22nd Street.
Good evening, Commissioners. This case, conditional use, was heard at the Planning and Zoning, June 23rd. Can you hear me now? Meeting, that recommendation comes to you tonight with a denial. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
What was the vote on that?
6-0,
6-0 to deny?
correct.
I don't have any questions on it, but I was able to attend that hearing, and I have to commend the board. They listened for and against, give them opportunities to talk, and they ruled as I probably would have if I was there. So I just want to thank,
Well, I appreciate that, thank you.
yeah.
This is in the residential area, correct?
This is an R1C residential area.
I understand the vote, and I wanted to ask, Chris Pross is here, if he could answer a couple questions. I know this house was damaged by arson back in '20. When did you acquire the property?
We acquired the property in February of 2023.
What did it look like whenever you bought it?
It was not exactly like it sits now, but it had the shop or the garage. And it had a great big depression. We brought in probably 10 loads of dirt. Had some dilapidated garage doors that we've replaced since then, overgrown weeds, things like that. We've tried to update it and make it better.
So were you running your business out of it, or were you just storing material?
We are simply storing material there.
At any time, did you ever meet any of the neighbors, or did they ever introduce themselves to you?
Maybe briefly. I know one of them was selling some houses on both sides of us. But other than that, I have never had any interactions with any of them to know who they are. They don't know who I am either.
So it's better now than it was when you bought it,
Yes, ma'am.
the lot. But the ordinance states that because it's a garage and no house, that, I'd like you to explain the ordinance, Dexter, if you could. Or just tell us
Well, so as the paper I gave each and every one of you tonight, you see where you're not allowed to have a secondary use structure without a primary structure. It's a residential neighborhood. It's intended to be a residential neighborhood. So when this house burned down, obviously the garage was in good shape and we didn't tear down the garage. The owner at the time didn't know if he was going to rebuild or what he was going to do. Obviously, when he sold this looked like an opportunity for Chris, I believe, right? To come in, and when he did, he found out through city inspectors that a conditional use was required to utilize that garage, because as Articles 30 states, you cannot use a secondary structure without a primary structure being on it. Otherwise, we'd have businesses scattered all throughout town. So when he came in to do that, that's the process we took him through, and you must get a conditional use if you're going to have something out of the normal in a residential neighborhood, or any neighborhood. So that in Article 30, there's an enumerated list of items or types of uses that you must go through that process.
So whenever a house burns or whatever like this, how come at the time they don't just tear the garage down also?
Well,
It'd alleviate all the problem.
You could, but honestly, at this time, like I stated, this owner thought he was going to rebuild. So to make him tear down a perfectly good garage made absolutely zero sense. Now, we don't keep up with it over the years. If it burned in, what year was that, 2020?
2021, I believe.
And then you bought it in 2023,
Yeah.
a lot can go on with private property in 2 years.
So it could have been used as a storage shed?
No, he should
All
have
along?
rebuilt, and then it would just be a garage.
The other guy prior to him?
No, it
Yeah.
can't be used by ordinance.
So when he bought the lot, did you buy it from an individual or the land bank?
Sorry.
I purchased it from an individual.
Oh.
And so to kind of build on that, I want to be very clear. The conditional use permit is, or the conditional use request is only for 2 to 5 years. We have 100% full plans to build a residential or house on that lot. What I'm asking for is 2 to 5 years to generate some revenue, so that way we can do that and invest in Pittsburgh.
But that doesn't, in the ordinance we have, that is nowhere in there that says, and I'm sure you're telling me the truth, but that doesn't say we're gonna allow that to happen and possibly have you build a house there. Another thing, with that garage there, you know, I knew the people that lived there, I knew the kids that started a fire, that he had some issues. But the garage was in good shape, and for that property, I mean, somebody wanted to buy a lot. The garage is already there. It would enhance the property for a homeowner to buy that piece of property and build a home there in a residential neighborhood. Now, in the past, and I still will, I'm against any type of construction, business, put in residential neighborhoods. I've talked to the people that live there. Some of them live there 70, 80 years. And, you know, we ought to listen to what they want. And like I said, in this ordinance, kind of ties our hands. We don't allow that. And you had a copy of that ordinance, right, from Dexter?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Any other questions?
I hear.
Any
Cheryl.
lot with the house gone and a garage, this ordinance is keeping them from doing anything.
I think it's kind of a slippery slope for us to try to grant an exception on
No,
this one and
I
that
understand
one
that.
and different ones. And Chuck, I think Commissioner Menzel is correct. I mean, nowhere in that ordinance, which we're supposed to follow, does it say, yes, but you could do this. It's pretty clear what we have to do, and the fact that the P&Z committee or board voted 6-0 against it. I think we have to respect their time and listening to it. And I think you said that they listened for and against. And I assume there were several neighbors probably showed up.
There were 6 that got up and spoke.
And were they all in opposition or?
Yes.
Yeah, I feel like that ties our hands, Chris. I mean, I know it's a convenient situation to be able to store stuff there, but I think our hands are tied with the ordinance in this case.
Can I have some clarification on, so with that, I have to tear it down?
No.
No, I just don't think you can
You
use it.
just can't use it.
You just can't use
Use
it.
it for storage, as you're doing now, so.
Doesn't make sense, but
We'll need a motion. Motion. Judge?
I'm not making a motion.
I'll make a motion to deny this request for conditional use permit for that
Second?
location.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded to deny the conditional use permit. All in favor by saying aye?
Aye.
All others by
Aye.
saying no, nay, I'm sorry, thank you, Don. It is not passed. Community Development Block Grant Project 23PF 026 time extension request. Consider staff request to submit a time extension request and a contract amendment to the Kansas Department of Commerce for Community Development Block Grant CDBG Project 23PF026, Washington School Child Care Project, to explain the delayed project start and to update the completion date.
Good evening, Commissioners. Just to clarify, we are asking for an extension with the Department of Commerce, which is pretty typical for construction delays. This project went to bid 3 times. The first time was July 29th of 2024. Second time was August 23rd of 2024, and the third time was January 2nd of 2025 in order to fulfill all of the bid requirements. So it did delay the start, so all we're doing is asking for an extension. A couple of the questions for Grow at Eden: they are a licensed child care provider. They have a business in Parsons and Iola, and will be the provider at Washington School. I believe they are set to open. We're looking at the November 2025. Again, things can change. Dustin Wilson is here, who's the contractor that's working on that project. Matt Burton's also helping with Point Forward, so if there's any questions with that. But it's a pretty simple process with Department of Commerce to submit for an extension.
Thank you.
You bet. Any other questions?
I got one.
Sure.
Where that school is and the building in the parking lot, isn't there a requirement for a certain amount of square foot per each child for a playground?
The playground?
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with those regulations. Yeah, thanks.
Yes, there are requirements in terms of capacity within the building and then playground space. And that'll all be a part of the operator's licensing process. So we're working with her to ensure that based on her understanding and our understanding of those requirements, that the amount of playground space and interior space matches with what her planned capacity
Are you talking about interior and exterior?
Sure, how many kids you can have of what age.
So there's room for an exterior playground?
There will be 2 playgrounds, one on the south side and then one in between the 2 buildings.
Okay, that's what I thought. That looked like where it would be.
That's right.
I move to approve the request.
It's been moved to approve. We need a second.
Second.
Don gives a second. All in favor by saying aye.
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 Others, nay, against? Aye. Okay. Non-agenda reports and requests? Seeing
None, sir.
none?
Move to adjourn.
Been moved to adjourn.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Then we adjourn. We adjourn. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Stigley.
Bye-bye.